Well, welcome. Thank you all so much for joining. My name is Hayley. I am the head of education here at ProWritingAid, and I'm just so excited to be here today talking to you about the software. During this session today, I will run through some basics of how to get up and running with ProWritingAid, and then I will also talk a little bit about some of the other features of the product and of our company and what you get with your ProWritingAid Premium membership. And then I will leave plenty of time to answer questions at the end. I do want to make sure that if you have any questions, you submit them using the Q&A button. You should be able to find that in the middle of your screen. That helps me keep track of the questions and make sure that I'm answering all of them. And it's just easier to keep track that way than putting them in the chat. So please use the Q&A button for questions. And with all of that being said, we will just go ahead and dive in. So like I talked about today, we are going to start by talking about how to get your document into ProWritingAid. We'll talk about how to run some of the kind of core reports of the software. Then we will also speak about running individual reports. I will talk a little bit about how I use the software and what reports are right for me. And then I will also talk about how to find the right reports for you. Then we'll go into other helpful features of ProWritingAid, as well as talk about the integrations, blog, and writing resources. So let's just go ahead and dive in. So what I'm using right now is the ProWritingAid web editor, which is accessible through any browser. So we have the ProWritingAid web editor, which you just access by going to ProWritingAid.com. This is part of everybody's, if you have the free version or the premium version, all the versions, you can come in here to ProWritingAid.com and access the web editor. Now, if you are using the free version, you can edit up to 500 words at one time. If you are using the premium version, you have an unlimited word count. And once you're here, you can start getting text into your document in a number of different ways. So you can see that you can just start typing to start writing. So I can say something like, hello, I am leading a session now. And it will start editing for me. I can also serve, you can see my dog, he is clearly very thrilled about uploading documents. You can also upload a document, so you can click here to upload a document. Knox, can you relax a little? Thank you. You can also upload a variety of different document types, from Word documents to Pages documents, to final draft files. We read a lot of different file types, and then our desktop app expands that even more into things like Scrivener files as well. So you could either start typing, you can paste any text in here, you can upload a document, and I'm going to pull up a sample just to start off with. So I would highly recommend uploading a document if you have something that you've written somewhere else. It does make it a little bit easier, and it will preserve your formatting better. If you paste something, it tends to add a few extra characters or can make things look a little wonky. So if you can, I would recommend uploading here. And someone in the chat said that you can upload by a menu. You can totally do that as well. So you can come over here and upload by clicking this button or this button right here. You can upload either way. So here, if I click upload, it'll pull up the upload window. If I come over here to menu and hit upload, it'll pull it up as well. So either way, does the same exact thing, pulls up the upload document. And again, start writing, you can copy and paste something in, or you can upload your document itself. Now, we typically recommend working with a text of about 10,000 words or less at a time. And the software can handle more than that, but there's a couple things that happen if your document is much longer. First, it can take a really long time to run the reports, depending on your computer, depending on your internet connection. So you could just be waiting around a very long time to have that run. The second is that editing more than 10,000 words at one time is a lot of editing to do. And I would not recommend anybody sit and edit 10,000 words at once. That's going to be a lot. So a couple ways that you can get around that are either by just doing one chapter at a time. You could also put a larger text in here and just highlight the parts that you would like to run at one time. But again, we typically recommend 10,000 words or less when you're uploading a document, because it does tend to make the server a little bit slower just because of the complexity of the reports that we're running. So like I mentioned, I'm going to use a sample text. So we have a fiction sample text here, and you can see that as soon as I input the text, ProWritingAid starts to offer suggestions. So the suggestions you see here are part of our real-time checker. You'll see the little icon for real-time up here. The 25 tells you how many suggestions there are right now. And the real-time report gives a number of different things. Real-time suggestions go over style, spelling, grammar, and passive voice. And then they also pull up, the real-time report also pulls up this toolbar, which goes into more specific reports for a particular document type, which I'll get to in a second. So the real-time report itself, the underlines that you're going to see here correspond to those 4 categories: style, spelling, grammar, and passive voice. And as I go through each of the different suggestions, I can see what they are, and I can choose to make a suggestion or to accept a suggestion or not. So if I want to accept a suggestion, I simply highlight the suggestion itself and then pick the right option. I could also click to ignore a specific rule, or if I wanted to, I could disable a rule altogether. So disabling a rule altogether means that you won't see it for any of your other documents, whereas if you just ignore a rule, it will ignore it in this particular context. So again, if you'd like to accept a suggestion, you just hover over it, select the appropriate correction, and then it automatically goes right into your document. Now, a couple other pieces on the this the little pop-up. So you'll see that if you hit to ignore, you can also report something as incorrect. This is really, really helpful for us. This is what our developing team looks at to make sure that our suggestions make sense. So if you have a suggestion that is kind of wonky and doesn't make sense, please feel free to report it as incorrect. It'll send it right to us, and that way we can make changes for that. You might also see this little orange eye in the top right-hand corner. If you hit that orange eye, you'll be taken to an article, which might be several paragraphs long, and you might also receive a video that gives you more information about the suggestion. This is really helpful if you have something that you're not quite sure if you should make the suggestion or not. These articles can really help you understand and decide whether or not you should make them. So for instance, something like very cold is not incorrect, right? It's perfectly legal in the English language to use an adverb like very plus an adjective like cold. However, stylistically, it's often better to use a stronger adjective rather than a weak adjective plus an adverb. So that's exactly what this article goes into. It gives more information about that, and that can help you decide whether or not you really care about that rule and want to implement it. So the suggestions you'll see in ProWritingAid kind of run the gamut from suggestions that are about things that are, misspellings or places where you're grammatically incorrect. And then some are a little bit more nuanced and go into places where you can make improvements, but a lot of that decision about those improvements comes down to you as the writer. Okay, so again, we're in the real-time checker. We see those style, spelling, grammar, and passive voice suggestions. And then we have this toolbar over here on the right-hand side. Now, the goals toolbar over here on the right-hand side gives information about specific goals related to your document type. So we have dozens of different document types that you can come and select up here, and that will give you custom suggestions based on what you're writing. So this is just kind of a general fiction document. So I will select general fiction, and you'll see that some of the suggestions start to change. So I have things like emotion tells, dialogue tags, unusual dialogue tags with adverbs. All of these are custom to fiction writing. If I were to change this document type to, let's say, academic abstract, you'll notice that I start to have suggestions related to transitions, power verbs, sentence variety, all of these things that make more sense for an academic document rather than a creative document. So make sure that you are selecting the appropriate type for your document, because this helps us, again, give you the best suggestions possible. So the way to kind of interpret this panel over here on the right is that each of these categories is something that, again, is very important for your particular document type. The little tick mark shows you where you are, and this little band is the goal range. Now, every single one of these has a goal range rather than a specific score that you're aiming for. So for instance, for grammar or spelling, we recommend that you get 80% or higher. We don't actually recommend that you hit 100% just because a lot of fiction documents will have made up places. They might have dialogue where characters break traditional grammar rules, all of those types of things. So everything is going to be a range that you're aiming to get into, not a specific score that you have to meet, okay? So you can see the tick mark and where it relates to your specific score. Now, if you want to get more information about a particular document type, or excuse me, a particular group of suggestions, you can just click on the suggestion's name, and then it'll take you to that particular report. So I was just looking at the glue index, which is related to sticky sentences. So now I'm in the sticky sentences check. You'll see I have different underlines and different suggestions than I did when I was back in the real-time checker. So I can review these and make changes depending on what the suggestions are. If I ever want to go back to that, I can just hit X and it takes me right back to the real-time report. So again, any of these places where you have like a little eye or it shows you that you are outside of the target range, just click into that and you'll find the specific suggestions for that type of report. Now, a lot of times people ask me, what do the colors correspond to? Is there a key or something like that? There isn't a key. There's not really a specific thing that the colors correspond to. The colors are going to be different for every report. And you can see on the left what the specific suggestions relate to, right? So here we have some red suggestions and some blue suggestions. It's all just going to be based on what that particular report is. I should not have run a combo report. A combo report, I'll talk about it later, but it covers a bunch of different things at once. But basically, each of the colors are just kind of custom to that report that you're running. So again, you type your document, you either upload, you type it in here, or you copy and paste something in here. You will see real-time suggestions related to style, spelling, grammar, and passive voice. And then your goals panel will help you get into more detailed reports about specific goals. So I am going to just take a peek at my Q&A. So Linda has a really great suggestion, which is a style for advocacy writing. Linda, that is an amazing suggestion. I really, really love that. So Linda says, I need a style for what I call advocacy writing for short letters with attachments to elected officials and shorter articles for the general public, persuasive writing with a call to action, and then something more staid that goes to elected officials on hot topic issues such as housing. Yeah, this is a great suggestion, Linda. I will take that to the team. That's a great one. Okay, so let's see. Someone asked about prior sessions. I will come back to that in a second. And then Deanne asked about tense. ProWritingAid does not have a tense report right now. It is something that we get asked about all the time. But tense is really, really complicated for a number of reasons. One of them being that even if your fiction book is written in the past tense, you're likely going to have future and present in there when people are talking, or just like when people are talking about other things. So it's really, really complicated. So we do not have a tense report right now. Amanda asked, I cannot see a ribbon bar across my screen. That's totally fine, Amanda. So sometimes people have, so first of all, it could be a couple things. One is that we have this, sometimes people collapse the ribbon bar. So you can always hit reports to show that again. And this pin will pin it there. Now, another option, Amanda, is that we are testing a new version that doesn't show the reports at the top. It just shows the reports as they relate over here to the goals, because all of these goals respond to a particular report. So if that's the case, Amanda, and you just have this goals panel, it's totally fine. You'll see all of the same suggestions, just like I mentioned, go into the particular document type, and then you'll see all of the reports that relate to that document type, and you can get to any of them by clicking the name of the report there. So either way works. So you might have it here and you might just need to repin it, or again, you have one of the test versions that we're trying out, which just has this gold sidebar. And in that case, you can just, you can just click on that. Okay, cool. That makes sense, Amanda. Yeah. So you should just make sure that you're selecting the appropriate document type, and then all of your reports are here. And then Amanda, you'll also see like, I don't have it on this version. Actually, let me see if I can pull it up really quickly for you. I might not be able to, but you should see at the bottom, Amanda, something that says like more reports at the bottom down there, and then you'll be able to see that there. Here, let me see if I can get this quickly to show you. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure that if anybody else is missing that, they also have the same thing. Thanks, Amanda. All right, so this is it's going to take a second to load since it's in the developer version. Anyway, we'll come back to that. And then so somebody asked about mixing this with Word. Again, I'll cover that shortly when we talk about integrations. But with all of that being said, I think somebody's raising their hand. Feel free to just drop your question in the Q&A and I'm happy to get to it. Let me see if I can log in. Cool, thanks, Amanda. I'm gonna just try to do this for anybody else who might be a little stuck as well. So just so we have it for the recording, some folks like Amanda have this kind of more simple version. And here you can see they have just all of the reports right here. You can click to see the report. And then, oops, if you go down here into the toolbar, you can see the additional reports. There's a couple of other ways to get to that. So all of their reports are here, and then you can hit the tool and then go to the others that are not included there. Okay, so let's go into some more on specific reports. So the real-time checker gives basic generic reports that are applicable to all of the document types, and then you can select your document type over here. But kind of how do you know where to start? There's so much in ProWritingAid. So what I always recommend to folks is, again, first, choose your document type, then come over here and use the goals sidebar to understand where you need to spend your time. So when I write fiction or when I'm working on writing for work, I come in here, I take a look at basically the places where I'm outside of the target zone. That gives me a really good indication of where I should spend my time. So I can see that my readability grade and my sentence variety are totally fine. So I'm going to go into glue index or pacing or dialogue tags as a place to start because all of these others are green. So again, thinking about your dialogue tag, use the goals sidebar then to decide where you're going to spend more time. So if I come into dialogue tags, I can come in and then see that I have a number of unusual dialogue tags. I can view these within the tool, and then I can either make changes or I can decide that I want to keep them. Again, one of the things that I want to stress with ProWritingAid is that there are certain things that are just wrong, a place where you've misused an exclamation point or a place where you've misspelled something, but many of the suggestions are up to you as the author to decide what you want to suggest or what you want to not suggest. So somebody's saying in the chat that when you make suggestions, sometimes your story can change your voice, or it can change your voice. That is why you don't have to accept all the suggestions. I totally recommend figuring out what your particular weak spots are, paying attention to those reports, and then having a look at the others, but not necessarily making all of those changes. Again, just because you're outside of a particular score range does not necessarily mean you need to change it. So to give you an example, I write a lot for work, but I write fantasy in my spare time. And when I'm writing fantasy, one of my particular weak spots is repeats. I tend to get a phrase stuck in my head, and then I have it just a million times throughout the document. I'll say, this person has turquoise eyes or something like that, just all throughout the document. So I always come into the repeats and echoes check because that is one of my particular weaknesses. So the repeats check, for instance, tells you how many times you have used particular phrases that are all the way from 4 to 1 word. Whereas the echoes check tells you how many close repeats you had. So for instance, in this sentence, from this point of view, she had an excellent view. Very repetitive because we're using the same word right together. Again, as a writer, that's one of my bad habits. So I always go straight to that check because I should make those changes because they will make my writing more effective. I similarly tend to make phrases more complicated than they need to be. So I also really like looking for readability checks like this, where instead of saying, started making, I just make it more simple, right? So that is something that is one of my kind of bad habits as a writer. So I pay attention to those. So again, I would recommend familiarizing yourself with the reports that make a lot of sense for you as a writer, going into those reports, and then taking a look at the others, but not necessarily worrying too much about them. Some other reports that I really like are the sticky sentences check, which looks at the glue index, so how wordy your sentences are and whether your sentences are really cluttered with additional words. I tend to, again, be very cluttered with additional words. So coming in here and seeing what my overly wordy sentences are is really effective for me. And then I also, when I'm writing fiction, tend to use the sensory report because, like many authors, I tend to rely too much on sight words rather than other types of words. So this helps me kind of keep an eye out and make sure that I am doing the having the right balance in there. So again, think about what your weaknesses are as a writer and then use the reports that make sense for you. You can even create a combo report by coming in here into settings and then selecting the reports that make the most sense for you. So you can see I have my echoes in here, I have my sticky sentences, I have my dialogue tags, and then I can run a report that focuses just on the pieces that are really effective for me and going to make the most impact. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about integrations. So let's see what some of our questions were. So we've had a couple people who have asked about mixing this with Word. So you can integrate ProWritingAid directly into Word. And so somebody else was asking about when you upload and download, it can get a little bit confusing. If you're uploading and downloading from something like Word, I would highly recommend just using the Word the Word integration. So the Word integration, let me just pull up a screenshot of it. The Word integration basically puts the power of ProWritingAid directly into Word. So you will see ProWritingAid right in Word. That means you can save your files right in Word. That means you don't have to upload or download anything. It's just directly in Word. And this works for both Windows and Mac. So you can come in here. This is a Windows view, but basically it'll install right in your Windows toolbar. You can choose to run that when you're ready. And then again, you don't have to bother with uploading or downloading and having multiple versions. You just have it exactly where it is. So I would highly recommend doing that so that you're not confused about what your documents are. You're not having to worry about files. You're just coming here and you are installing it. I'm going to put this link in the chat so that if you're looking to download, you can do that easily. And this download works for Windows. And then if you want to get it for Mac, you basically just, you have to like search through the Office store. So if you need that link, just let me know. Okay, so, Suze Deb, if you have questions about installing specifically for you, let's see if we have time towards the end, but otherwise just feel free to email me at hello@prowritingaid.com and we can help. But it might be that you're working on a Mac instead of Windows or something like that, but just let us know. This should download and then you'll basically run this file and then reopen Microsoft Word and it opens there. Perfect. Okay. So yes, we had some folks ask about Scrivener. Yes, so we do work directly with, well, right now our desktop app works with Scrivener files, but we also are in the midst of releasing something called ProWritingAid Everywhere, which is integrating directly with Scrivener, which is super awesome, and that is coming out very soon. So you can work directly with Scrivener as well as some open Office files too. Okay, so Linda was asking in Word if there is a way to automatically change to one space. There isn't within ProWritingAid, but I would recommend just doing like Control F and finding all of the places where you've used two spaces and then just switching it to one and then like changing all. That is usually the easiest way. Okay, so somebody says, I write movie reviews. What category would you consider those? I think it kind of depends how you're using them. I would maybe come in here for web copy if you're writing them to be published on the web and look for either long web article or short web article, or you could use general web copy depending on how you're using them. Okay, so we've got a couple questions about word count. Yes, you can add 10,000 words to a file already loaded. Yes. And then what I would recommend at that point is you would just select like this, and that will search over the specific text so that you're not constantly kind of making the document longer, which might make it just difficult. And then somebody asked, when it's integrated with Office exactly, it makes it much easier to run the reports and to not really worry about word count. Though again, you might want to do the same kind of highlighting that I just did in Office so that it's not running on your whole book, because again, you're not going to edit your whole book in one sitting, and it just will take a very long time to run those reports if you're trying to run them on like 100,000 words. direct integration to Scrivener. Are you on a Windows or a PC? Or excuse me, Windows or Mac? Because if you're on Windows, it's available right now. And I can get you the, okay, great. Send me an email. Do you have my email? It's just Hayley Milliman at Gmail, Hayley.Milliman at ProWritingAid.com. And yes, and then I can get you the ProWritingAid everywhere, so you can do that. And Mac is releasing like in the next week. I think we're just alpha testing it as a company like any day now, and then we're going to release it. Let me put it in the chat. Yes, so that's my email in the chat, and then I can get you the direct integration for Scrivener tomorrow. Yes, so to those who are asking, yes, ProWritingAid will soon be embedded in Scrivener for Mac as well. We just released a version for Windows, and we're in the final testing for Mac, which is very exciting. I know that everybody really wants that, myself included, because I write in Scrivener all the time. Okay. Yes, for combo reports, you are typically creating them online and then running the combo report from there. Yes, as well, Kimberly. Okay, style of quotes get mixed to both curly or straight and sometimes double up. You can come in here to menu and you can convert all your quotes one way or the other. So that can help with that. Okay, if you want to access, so to access prior webinars, if you come into here to ProWritingAid.com and go to webinars, and then you can come to see recordings of past events to see previous ones. Let's see. When the ProWritingAid for Scrivener is ready, we will send an email to the entire email list. So as long as you have an account and get our emails, we will have that there. Okay. Let's see. I'm just taking a look at our last question that we've got open. Oh, Scrivener. I think you accidentally pasted something in there. Scrivener is a word processor. It is a really great way of writing. It lets you organize documents into a couple of different formats, which are just really, really useful. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's basically like Microsoft Word, except Microsoft Word was amazing. So yeah, it's really great. And we are actually going to have a session from Scrivener themselves at Crime Week, which is coming up very soon. If you want to register at ProWritingAid.com/Crime Week, I'll put this link in the chat. We're going to have a session from Scrivener themselves. So even if you don't write crime, please feel free to come to Crime Week and learn from the Scrivener masters. Okay, just taking a look. So Kimberly says you already have it integrated with Scrivener. So Kimberly, the change is going to be that you, instead of having to, I'm not sure which version you have, but right now for most folks, if you have Scrivener, you have to like save your Scrivener document and then open it in Scrivener later, and then open it in ProWritingAid and save it and it goes back. This means that you don't ever have to go to ProWritingAid. Like ProWritingAid suggestions are going to pop up in Scrivener itself. So some people are already beta testing that, which is the link that I sent someone else. But if you're not already beta testing that, just scroll back in the chat and send me an email at the address I put in there and I can get you the Windows version. The Mac version is still in testing right now. And then again, we're going to release all of this to everyone shortly. No worries. Thank you so much for joining. For anyone who has to head out. Yes, OpenOffice and Dabble, we both work with. Yes. And again, the ProWritingAid Everywhere is the way to use both of those, which is the link that I was just sending out. If you do not have that, just let us know. Okay. So we've gone through how to find reports for you, how to use the goal sidebar, how to create a combo report, how to change your document type. I want to cover integrations just very, very quickly. So we've talked a lot about ProWritingAid Everywhere, which is our new beta version for Windows and is still in testing for Mac, which is basically going to let you use ProWritingAid in all of the programs on your computer, like PowerPoint, Scrivener, Notion, anything that you use on your computer, you'll be able to see that. Hold on one second, sorry. And then for all of the other types of integrations, so for things like Google Chrome or Google Docs or anything like that, we have different add-ons for that as well. So if you have ProWritingAid Premium, you have all of those integrations available to you, and you can scroll down to the bottom of ProWritingAid.com, find all of those integrations and select the ones that make sense for you. So let's talk a little bit about additional things that are available to you, and then we'll go into questions. So I already mentioned Crime Writers Week. We do a number of different webinars in addition to this one. So Crime Week is an opportunity for you to come and learn from best-selling and award-winning crime writers, as well as just to go deeper into the craft of writing and editing itself. So even if you're not a crime writer, I highly recommend coming. Those weeks are so exciting and just so much fun, and they're all available via Zoom and replay. We have about 30 different speakers at this event, and it's going to be really, really great. And then we'll also have Sci-Fi Week, which is our first Sci-Fi Week coming up at the end of August, as well as Romance Week in October. So please stay tuned for those. As a ProWritingAid Premium member, you also get access to a number of ebooks, which you can access by going to Learn and then ebooks. And then here you will be able to get a bunch of different ebooks on everything from creating characters to starting a copywriting career to publishing your book as an indie author. So feel free to access any of these as a premium user. And I think those are all of the pieces I wanted to cover. I want to make sure we have plenty of time for questions. I see that we have one about ProWritingAid Everywhere. So ProWritingAid Everywhere is a new version of our desktop app that is going to integrate basically everywhere on your computer. So your Notes app, your Scrivener files, Notion, etc. It's going to work the same way kind of our Chrome extension works for anything on your internet browser. It'll work for all of the applications on your computer. It's new. We're in the testing phase for it. It's in beta testing or beta testing for Windows, and we're in alpha testing, which is when our internal team tests that for Mac. So if you're interested and you have Windows, I put my email into the chat a little bit ago, so you can feel free to email me and I can try to get you an advanced copy of that. And then if you are in Mac, we'll be releasing more information about that shortly. Any other questions that I can answer? Great. Well, I think we've covered all of the questions in this nice and speedy section. Thank you all so much. Let's see. How to choose an integration. I would just see where you write the most. So if you write in Microsoft Word the most, I would choose the Word one. If you write in Chrome the most, I would choose the Chrome extension. Really just choose kind of whatever you write in the most, and that will be the best. And if you have Microsoft Office and you would like to do for Mac, let me get the writing aid for Mac. Oh, excuse me. Microsoft Word. And this is the guide for how to understand for Mac. Thank you all so much. Again, please feel free to email me at just hello@ProWritingAid.com if you have missed my personal email address, and I'm more than happy to answer any further questions or just see if there's an easier way to do things. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and I will talk to you soon.